Hello and welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2022 season, as we look ahead to the round 18 clash against Wigan Warriors, which is also Magic Weekend. I am joined tonight by Peter to have a look ahead to the game and chat everything that's happened with Saints this week. Been quite a bit, hasn't it, Peter?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week as always. Started off with a cataclysmic overreaction to a narrow defeat with most of our backline missing. Which is no one likes losing. I was disappointed we lost. I'm sure you were as well.
Yep.
But if even you start the match missing Conrad Hurrell, Lewis Dodd, Mark Percival, Will Hopewati, and during the match, Tommy Makinson goes off injured. Now, you tell me anyone who could miss 5 out of their backline and win in France, and I'll show you a liar. To get within 2 points, and let's be honest, I'm going to start early as we mean to continue. I'm going to say a disappointingly weak bit of refereeing to not send Dylan Napa off and to not put Merky McAlorum in the sin bin. Without doubt, had a direct impact on the result. So you look at it like that and you think, well, it wasn't an absolute disaster. We've ended with, Ben Davis playing in the wing. You had James Bell playing at centre. Sione Matautia, the other centre, and you're like, and we only lost by 2 points. And that's not disparaging these guys, but every one of them is playing out of position. So, if we'd won that game, it would have been bordering on miraculous.
Yes, I make you right. I mean, listen, we won't harp on too much about referees. Sometimes they go for you, sometimes they go against you. That one looked very similar to the one that he was sent off with in the first round. Listen, it's gone now. It's gone. We're going to look ahead. I think that is possibly the perfect time for me to share the squads. And there we are, resplendent in white and ice blue. I'm going to say our Magic Weekend kit. 2 changes to that squad where we've had Louis come back in and Will Hopewati's back as well, and Tommy Makinson and Josh Sim, who we will speak about in a bit, dropping out. Peter, I told you before we started this that I was definitely going to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Who misses out?
Well, you look at the squad, and it's nice to have a couple of bodies back. Hopefully, if Will Hopewati is selected, that he can get through the 80 minutes, put in a good performance. We've seen the games that he played prior to his latest injury setback. He was contributing well in attack and in defence. And I think where better for him to have, a comeback and play an absolute stormer would be against Wigan at Magic with everyone watching. I really hope that he can come back in and put in a really, really strong performance. I think, there's only probably, you would say, unfortunately, the jersey of the young fella behind you, Danny Hill, is probably the least likely out of the 21 to play. Redvee sponsored Danny Hill to
correct
trademark. But I think everyone else is in with a shout. I wonder perhaps if with Louis back, whether Jake Wingfield might miss out. And I would like to see Dan Norman in as well. I think we need that extra bulk and carrying against Wigan. Looking at the rest of the squad, hopefully everybody else is fit and ready to go. I wonder if James Bell might miss out. I know he's only brought back in last week, but if we've got Louis back, Dan Norman, who I don't know, was he injured or ill last week? Because I'm surprised he wasn't in the 17. Potentially, might miss out. I think Ben Davis will keep his place in the team. He's not done too badly, but I don't think anyone else wants to kick goals. Johnny Lomax has done it in the past. Perhaps he's maybe not comfortable doing it, maybe with his injury. And as I alluded to on at Easter time, I was one of the few. Well, I think maybe Saints are around 500 at Castleford on Easter Monday, 2012, when Robbie kicked his only conversion in Saints colours.
I knew that was coming.
And I know if perhaps the kicking tea could be handed to Captain Fantastic. He's done everything else.
Well, you've answered one of my questions with regards to who kicks goals, who you think could kick goals. So we'll quickly touch on that. Listen, I've had a quick scroll through to see who has kicked goals and who hasn't kicked goals. Listen, I think your hat has got to be hung on one player and one player only here, and that is Mr. 100% Alex Walmsley. He's not missed one. No, in all seriousness, I did have a little look through, and Jack Welsby kicked 10. I'm guessing for the reserves or the under-19s in 2018. That's the last that Saints have him recorded as kicking goals. So Jack Welsby can do it. As you say, Ben Davies is there and can do it. It's whether we'd put Johnny Lomax the extra stress of kicking goals onto him because he's not done it for years.
Yeah.
Or if there's somebody like John Bennison who may be good at kicking goals, it might be a talent that we've not seen yet, that he could come in and do it. I think Will Hopewati's kicked one in first grade as well. There's not an awful lot. And as you say, with people missing out, we're making some missing out as well. Who starts in the centres then for you and on the wing? Personally, I mean, I've spoken to also of this parish, Kevin Cunningham, and said that I think my back line, if everybody's fit, is Hopewati, Bennison, Harrell, Davis and Grace. And the reason I've gone for that is to move Sione back up into the second row. And if he then needs to drop back into the centres, he can. But to start players who usually play in those positions, positions.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that's one of the reasons. Obviously, the other reason we spoke about last week for the defeat, but we didn't have players playing their natural position, so you were always going to be a bit more clunky in the back line, trying to get moves going. The only time we strung anything really together ended with Reegs getting knocked into touch, and I think that was down to if that had been Mark Percival passing it, Percy would have taken another couple of steps, drawn the defender, and Reeves would have scored. That's just Sione not being an out-and-out centre. And it's not criticising him, it's just not his absolute skill set. Yeah. So I think, play, square pegs and square holes. And obviously, if you play Ben Davis, then he's your goal kicker. Sione can play in the back row, and it gives us a very, very strong back row. I wonder if Bennison might be full back and Hopewati in the wing. I don't know. I would Bennison up against. I would Bennison be better up against the flying Liam Marshall at the moment. You don't want Hopewati perhaps doing a hamstring, trying to keep up with him. And of course, he can chime in as a third half back as well. So it's I would pretty much go with that as well, and I would certainly bring Louis and Dan Norman onto the bench, along with Joey Lussick and Curtis Sirenen.
Fair enough. Just one before we move on to the Wigan squad. How much are we going to need that man in your picture, the Conrad Harrell, to bring those runs that we don't want him. We do want him to, but he's not Tommy Makinson. He's not going to do them 20 carries. He's not going to make all them meters. But the likes of Conrad, who, listen, I'll hold my hands up. I've been critical of him when he first started over at Saints. He's so part of our structures now and what we do coming back out. There's been a couple of runs that he's made that's just got us back onto the front foot. How much are we going to benefit from having him back in the team?
Oh, I mean, hugely, because I think he draws attention of defenders. They know that he can power through 2 or 3 and get an offload away. And if you've got a guy like that, then if their eyes are drawn to him, then there's space for others. And I think you've got the option there of using him as a decoy at times, for him passing the ball just before contact, as well as being the destructive runner. I think it's important not to make him do too much work, particularly bringing the ball out, but missing Percy, missing Tommy, we're going to need him to do a little bit more of that than usual, because Will Hopewati, don't want him doing overly much. Rees and John Bennison are not the biggest of guys. They're not going to have the destructive running and meters after contact, as I say, that Percy and Tommy normally get as a matter of course. So I think, certainly the big man's going to have to do a lot of hard yards, but hopefully we can keep him fresh for when we get into their 20, when he can, we can spread it wide, and he can, as he did in the semi-final to start the comeback, carry players over the goal line with him. And as he did in Good Friday, even though it was surprisingly ruled out, he did the same, carried a couple of bodies over the line. He's almost unstoppable from 5, 6, 7 meters out. And having that in your back line, it's worth an extra few points per game.
Yeah, I think you're right there. You mentioned Mark Percival as well, and how much we miss the likes of him and Tommy when they're both not playing, both bring it back. And I think sometimes it's very important to kind of pick up little things that are said either in the media, or we were lucky enough to go to a forum recently. Mark Percival has been playing with that injury since Easter Monday, and they've taken the opportunity to get it right before we start getting into the business end of the season. Tommy Makinson took a knee to the hamstring early in the Leeds game. And I know there was a couple of comments on the Redvee forums saying that Tommy had just gone straight down the tunnel. It was something I noticed as well. But when players are getting a knee to the hamstring, you kind of forget about that because it happens early on. You don't really notice, because Tommy did get a little bit of treatment for it. You don't really notice that because you get swept away in the rest of the game. So it's important to know that, the 17 that takes the field isn't necessarily the fully fit. They're not all at the peak of their powers. They're going through strapped up and possibly on the edge of catching another one. So I don't know. I don't want to preach to people, but I think it's important that we realise that, they're in a lot better shape than we are.
But, well, I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, but also that they're not always in the tip-top 100% shape. Right.
Well, I think that's true probably of every team as well.
Of course it is.
Wigan will have plenty of patched up bodies tomorrow as well. So, it's going to come down to fine margins on the day, I think.
Yeah. And speaking of fine margins, last time we played these, I had imbibed, we'll call it. Also managed to get Martin a fire to comment on it because I don't actually remember making comments about Jai Field possibly being quick. I'm not going to apologise for him either. I probably thought it was funny at the time. I don't care if anybody else does. But there's the Wigan squad. 2 in, Cade Cust and Morgan Smithies. Out, Tommy Luluai and Sam Halsall. Listen, without talking about the quick lads, where are the threats from Wigan? I'm going to say tomorrow because we are doing this on Friday night.
Yes. Well, obviously, everyone knows you look for the top 3, and then the other guy who's just above Abbas Miski. They seem to be the guys that everybody talks about.
You can't mention him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't specifically. But you look at their Wigan's pack. Everyone says, the last couple of seasons, Wigan have been poor in attack and have not been scoring many points. I think they were lowest point scorers last year. But, their forwards weren't delivering for them last year as well. Whereas you look at the ageless Liam Farrell, he's unbelievable. He's still running the ball in hard. He's still picking magnificent lines and ghosting through to score tries like we're going out of fashion. The boy Patrick Mago has been one of they've had a few kind of dodgy signings, Wigan, in recent years. Forwards have made virtually no impact. He seems to be a guy that's making some meters and has got a good offloading game. does the hard stuff, keeps it simple. Harry Smith's come onto a game. He was one of the ones that got a lot of stick last year when the whole team was struggling and he was a young guy, and I thought it was kind of unfair. His kicking's improved. He's kicking from hand as well, not just off the tee. Has improved. Even guys like Morgan Smithies, he's still I can't say the word. It starts with S and ends in house. But he has a hell of a destructive player, and he is defensively. He puts in some big hits. I don't think them not having Tommy Lulawai will hurt them tomorrow. You look at the guys they've got coming back. Just mentioned Cade Cust. They've got plenty of guys that can control the game for them. I think, like every game, you can have this as a kind of standing kind of subject matter every week. If you win the battle in the forwards, the chances are you're going to win the game, and I think that is top, middle, and bottom what matters most tomorrow, regardless of the threats Wigan have in the back line, which are plentiful. If our forwards can get on top, then we will win the game.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, Liam Farrell for me is one of the great Super League second rowers. Whether he gets into Super League all time 13 or 17 is another matter, but he is one of the greats. He just turns up for them. If there are any Wigan fans turning in, I bet they're completely surprised by the turn of events of me actually praising one of their players. But I think early in his career, he had a reputation of giving away penalties quite a bit. But he's their talisman. To me, is their talisman. He's taken over from Tommy Lulawai. And listen, Tommy Lulawai can still march him around the park and kind of has all that kind of knowledge, that experience. But yeah, with the likes of Liam Farrell playing, it's yeah. My problem is he always seems to sneak over for a try as well, and it's usually a crucial one. So hopefully we can stop that. The likes of Kai Pearce-Paul as well in the squad. There's big rumours that he's going to Australia in the very near future. The way that Wigan tend to line up, or that I've seen over the past couple of years, is they tend to put a second rower in the centres. So Willie Ice has played there, John Bateman's played there, Kai Pearce-Paul's played there. With our kind of, one of them is going to, if they do that again, one of them is going to come up against either Ben Davies or Conrad Harrell, you'd imagine, or from our opinions anyway. That's going to be an intriguing battle to see who gets on top in that area of the pitch.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt. I think the two we've mentioned, I think it's most likely. Because if we take Ben Davies out of the team, then someone else has to kick goals. And as I say, we don't need, with the guys we've got coming back, we don't need to play second rows at centre. I think Wigan will go for two big blokes against our two big blokes. Ben Davies is a bit of a lad, and obviously Conrad Harrell hasn't skipped lunch for a while. And they're not going to put in a smaller nippy guy to try and dance around about them. They're going to fight fire with fire, and I think tomorrow is going to be a fierce physical battle. I think both teams will mix it up front. I think in the last few years before this year, Wigan have tried to play round us because they didn't fancy taking us on up front. That's changed, and quite rightly, tactically, certainly in the first 40 at Helens Road, they did a number on us. They stopped us playing, and they took advantage of two mistakes from us for their first two tries, but they still had to score them. But if we can, get on top in the forwards, we'll come up. We'll come up on top. The good news, of course, is with my recent record at Magic, I'll not be in attendance tomorrow, which should mean victory. And with that kind of works kind of night out tomorrow night, I won't see the end of our game. Now, like Good Friday, I wasn't able to get down because of problems with transport, and I was going to something else that night, so I missed the second half of a home game against Wigan when we won. So the omens, based on those facts alone, suggest that we're in for a good day. at Newcastle tomorrow.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Peter, what are your thoughts on Magic? Has it run its course? Does it need moving about? Is it fine where it is? I think tomorrow there's been a little bit of moving about of games like tag rugby that would usually happen on the pitch, and there'll be no warming up on the pitch or anything like that. I mean, that could be put down for a number of reasons. Newcastle just looking after the pitch, the fact that you know what, they don't really need the money anymore, if we're being honest about it. So they can say what they want with regards to it. What would you do? What would you do? Would you leave it still in Newcastle and try and build the game and get Thunder on beforehand or midway through it to kind of give them a bit of a boost? Is it time to move it to Cardiff, to Manchester, to Dublin, to Fir Park, to... What would you do anyway, mate?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because when it started out back in 2007, if I remember correctly, it was about spreading the game. They took it to, as it was then, the Millennium Stadium. And it was about growing the game, getting support, going there from other areas. And then obviously developed it. They ended up at Manchester. It's been at Liverpool. It's been at Newcastle before, and it's kind of missed the point of what it's doing. And I think a lot of people. I mean, let's be honest. That both days should be sold out, given the teams that are playing and the average kind of supports. But the last been at Newcastle a few years, and people, if I don't go this year, we'll just go next year, and it shouldn't be like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, they've started it in the last couple of seasons in Australia. We're talking about getting rid of it, and they've just started it. I think something has to be done, because it's become quite a very staid and formulaic event where it's Magic Weekend, everyone's playing in over 2 days in one stadium. Why? Well, we don't know. We just do it. There doesn't seem to be a reason for it. A lot of people like it. Newcastle's a great city if you're going for a weekend of rugby, combined with perhaps some one or two small drinks, and have a good. It's a good place to have a good time, and it's a great location. But if it's the same, if you're going there every year, it's like, where's the excitement of that? I mean, I think it should be, if they're keeping it going, it should be in different places, and you should have, as part of the programme, as you suggested, a local rugby league game as part of it. I mean, tonight Newcastle Thunder are playing at home, and all the Magic Weekend tweets and Facebook posts, there's been barely any mention about, if you're going up to Newcastle Friday night, get along to Kingston Park and go and watch the Thunder.
That's tragic. I'm sorry, Peter, sorry to butt in there, but that's poor. That is very, very poor.
It is. And because that's, I think I've seen Newcastle Thunder put out a tweet saying they're getting about 2,200 odd tonight. But that stadium holds a lot more. Why can't you have double that? Because that's giving them extra money. That's growing the game. That's 5,000 people going to their ground tonight, buying a ticket, getting some food, and having been watched Newcastle Falcons against Glasgow Warriors that night on Good Friday. They've got some good grub there, and get a couple of pints, maybe visit the club shop. That's a lot of money going into that club's coffers. Next year, if they move Magic Weekend down to Coventry, there's the team that's started down there. I can't remember the name. I want to say Coventry Bears, but I don't know if that's
Midland Hurricanes.
Coventry Bears must be a rugby union side. That's me. I'll be getting in trouble.
Coventry Bears have been, and now I think, a community club.
Right.
And I think they feed into the Midland Hurricanes now.
Well, for example, go in there and then have a game where the Midlands team play, whether it's at Coventry Stadium, and get some, or play at their own stadium, get some extra money in, and do it like that. So if we really want to grow the game, take it to cities nearby where there is a thriving rugby league team. Take it up and have 1 year. Have it. I know it's not the best venue. I don't know how it would work. But I mean, up in Carlisle and get the Cumbrian teams or something, there must be a way of doing it. Or take it to, I can't think of another stadium up there that's going to be suitable. That's the only thing. But you'd want to do it like that and have like to on both days having one of the Cumbrian teams playing and get a few thousand locals along. You want to try and do that rather than just taking it to a big swanky venue that's not a rugby league venue and there's money being lost to the rugby league as a sport. Keep it rugby league venues, even if those are not the best venues. Let's do something. Have a, they have the summer bash, which I think still goes ahead at Blackpool. But what does that need to be again at a football stadium? Make it a smaller stadium. Have it full. If it is one of the championship stadia, just otherwise the point of the exercise has been totally lost. It's not about people going out on the ale and then only going in to watch their own team play, which is what happens.
Oh yeah, absolute. Hello, I'm one of the main ones for that. I will literally go in and see the last 20 minutes of a game, watch our game. We usually then film Redvee. We're then 20-25 minutes into the next game, and I go home. A lot of that has been circumstance over the past couple of years, and just the fact of, listen, cost of living goes up. Not everybody's priorities are going getting on the hill in Newcastle. They're not. So you end up coming home because you might have something on, or we've played the Sunday or anything like that. So I completely get that, and it's a money spinner. That's why it happens. Yeah. But we need to look at either knocking it on the head for me or mixing it up. Newcastle's a great venue. I've no problem with going back there. But if it is still all about growing the game, one of my ideas that I've not thought through properly is split it up. So your Magic Weekend is Saturday, we're playing Bristol. And going down there are Wakefield and Castleford, Hull and Hull KR, Catalan and Warrington. And then the next game you're going to play at wherever, Sheffield Wednesday. And you just turn around and you go, well, actually, we're going to play the other teams on the Sunday there and do something like that. I don't know how that would work, but listen, that's my daft idea.
Yeah, well, that's going to confuse a lot of drunk people, telling them we're playing at Wednesday, Sunday.
Yeah, well, very true. Very true. Right, Peter, we're just going to move on. We've got a couple of things that we're going to have to do quite quickly. Talk about building the game, and we lose one of our big stars to Racing 92. Listen,
I think it was inevitable. I think it was inevitable the way things were panning out.
And Regan goes with our best. Regan's been a great player for us. He goes with our best. I don't blame him. If he can earn 5 times the money he can in rugby league, I don't see why he wouldn't go and chance his arm and try and get into the World Cup squad. If that's what he can do, I don't know the rules about it. To be honest, Peter, I know you're big into your rugby union. I'm not that bothered about the eligibility side because he's not English. But listen, he goes with our best, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I listened to a couple of rugby union podcasts, and I think it was in the first year, the 60 cap rule, I think, that Wales have comes in. I think I think he's fine this year, but I think I would have to then move to a Welsh team or something after his second contract. But then again, Racing will be playing him silly money. One of the major talents in Scottish rugby, Finn Russell, plays there, and he's like the fly half, their halfback, if you like. Yeah. And I'm sure Regan will get plenty of good service from Finn. And they've got a heck of a team that's almost like all-stars, like Harlem Globetrotters type of team. They'll have a lot of fun in a brilliant city with an exciting team. There's no doubt about it. And I remember vividly being down at Wigan that Good Friday, a few days after Kieran had left us. Yeah. And we all thought, what's going to happen today? It's been a poor old season. And then the team comes out in this, certainly to me and probably a lot of times, unknown. Maybe they'd seen the name but didn't know anything about him. And that first time he touched the ball, where he danced past 3 Wiganers in a phone box and made 20 metres, and we thought, okay, this boy looks all right.
Yeah.
He scored a great try that day, even though we lost. I thought we played pretty well. Riggs had some great involvement, scored a great try, and he's really never looked back. Obviously, his injury this year, which was a real blow, and he's still, I think, getting up to full tilt. I think hopefully by the business end, he will be fit and firing and ready to go for 4 in a row. But we wish him well. He might come back to league, who knows? But it depends on, I think the money in Union, to be absolutely honest, is ridiculous, particularly in France in comparison to what Saints and any Super League club can offer. But we wish him well, and let's hope he goes out a 4-time winner.
Yeah, and just a left field one. If he wants to play rugby union, not to get in a lazy trope, maybe he'll be kicking the goals on Saturday.
Well, you never know.
Another player leaving us, although immediately and on a short-term loan deal that will be looked at week on week after its 2 weeks runs out, is Josh Sim. Has Josh been unlucky, or do you think? Does he just need to get out there and play games at his age?
I think so, because he's been on the periphery for the last couple of years, and he's played a lot of games and scored some tries and not looked out of place.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I think he's one of these guys where he needs to go out and do it on his own, in terms of when he's played most of his games at Saints. Obviously, someone's been injured, but he's played on the wing and had, on his inside shoulder, Mark Percival, or played at centre. Outside him, he's a Tommy. He's Lachlan Coote behind him. But even on the few games where, like Castleford this season, there was the Salford game a couple of seasons ago when we just played like basically all kids and like Kyle Amor.
Yeah.
He did stand out from a lot of the inexperienced laddies. I think, I'm not being critical of him, but I think that perhaps the semi-final maybe almost burned his bridges as far as maybe Christian Wolf goes. I don't know if that's completely off beam, but he had a disappointing day. It doesn't need me to tell him. He made a couple of high-profile, if you like, mistakes that led to tries, and I wonder if that's perhaps put him down the pecking order. Perhaps he needs to get out and play somewhere else to kind of get a bit of confidence back, because he's definitely got something. He's got pace, he's got a step, he's a better defender than you think he looks in terms of for the size of him. But he's been maybe at Saints on the periphery too long, and he maybe needs to go somewhere in Super League, play 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row and see where he is.
Yeah.
Because I think he's in a contract at the end of the season. It's maybe to get himself a move, or to say to Christian Wolf, look, that semi-final was a one-off. Other players have had games where they look back and had they've made a big mistake. But it's a great chance for him, and I hope he does well, because you want to see your youngsters doing well, either for your own side, but if they can go and make it somewhere else, then it's a success story as far as I'm concerned. He's absolutely got something, and I hope he can do well at Hull.
Yeah, he has. He's got all the makings of a Super League player. We wish him well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to see him back in a Saints jersey before the end of the season. Whether that happens, we're not sure. But listen, Josh, go out there, go do your best for Hull. You're going to get your chances over there as well. Peter, we're going to have to wrap up very, very shortly, but I cannot let you go without two things. One is a prediction, but I want you to do your prediction with that backdrop as we celebrate 1,000 days of being the champions. Peter, how's the game going to go quickly on Saturday?
We are going to pinch the game by 4 points within the last 5 minutes.
You know what? I usually go for 14 at this point, and I cannot disagree with you. I think this is going to be a one-score game. I just think it's going to be really, really, really tight. We're using that graphic, obviously, as I say. Saints have been champions for 1,000 days. Listen, it's a great achievement. People can come and say, well, other teams have been champions for longer. Listen, just celebrate your own. We'll celebrate ours.
100%. You can only beat what's put in front of you. It's all relative. People can say they're not as good as Leeds 2015 or even Saints 2006.
Yeah.
But it's all relative. Right now, if Saints do 4 in a row, this Saints team, this Saints vintage, started off with Holbrook, finished by Wolf, is the greatest ever, because
Yeah.
no one else has done what we would have done. Long way to go, but we're on the cusp of it.
Yeah, very true. Right, Peter, I'm going to let you go. So hope you enjoy the game wherever the first bit of it that you'll see,
Yes.
while you won't see the second bit. Yeah, we'll be back with the instant fan reaction.
Yes.
So don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll catch you soon.